Hello. Allow me to tell you a fraction of a story. One piece. One slice of the pizza that I have spent over 17 years writing. You see, one of the most important things in any story, well, really, is the ending. You should always write the ending first. You should always know what point you're trying to make. I think you should always write the ending first. But in that simultandem, that mirror, the point of your story should be initiated toward the beginning. That's why it's important to know what your point is, so that you can do the long Chekhov's gun. Introduce something at the beginning that is direly relevant at the very end. I think that that's the best way to tell a story. And this is a story about a character who begins on a planet, ends up living on a transdimensional world ship for many years, docks at a Dyson sphere orbiting a star, and then goes on to wage war against an entire neutron star-sized mechanical planet. It's a crazy story, honestly. I'll admit, it's a bit out there. You know, like my last boss is Unicron from Transformers. You know what I'm saying? It's a living mechanical planet is like my last boss, because I was inspired by games like the Guardian Legend and things like that. But the human element is so important at the beginning. And the first act of this very long story that I have spent many, many, many years creating, it's very important. The beginning of the story is when you pull back the string on the bow. And the end of the first act is releasing the arrow. And then you just describe the path that it takes as it soars in an arc through the sky. That's all storytelling is. Shooting an arrow. But I've needed, for a story like this, I needed a moment for my protagonist to prove himself. And so, as a critical social commentary, I chose the problem with Maiko in Japan. Maiko were just geisha in training, you know? The problem is that in Japan, there's a cultural norm. I'm about to get very dark. I'm going to give you a trigger warning right now. I'm about to say things you might not want to hear. That's your only warning. I gave you time. I'm not going to give you another chance. Michael were typically 14 years old when they first enter a state of sexual abuse. Those of high political ranking and societal stature are basically allowed to molest and rape young children with wild abandon. One of them in the last 25 years has spoken out about it on social media. And then she disappeared. You know what I'm saying? It's terrible. And so that was the driving, motivating force for my protagonist. His childhood friend at their steampunk samurai Harry Potter school. The males, they spend from 1st until 12th grade crafting swords to have a final championship duel at the end of each school year when the graduating class is about to go on into the world. Everyone who identifies as a male in society. And you have to decide when you're young. And you have no other choice given to you. You make a sword. But if you choose the other route, if you choose the effeminate route, you go into the engineering school. And so my protagonist, Melvin, his childhood friend from 1st grade, they've known each other for their entire lives. And she has spent the last 12 years trying to design a jacket that Melvin can wear so that his ability to wield the sword can be improved. Because Melvin only has a right arm. His left arm is genetically deformed with phocomilia, a real genetic disease. Look it up. Phocomilia. Look it up. And so she has spent 12 years designing a prosthetic arm that is attached to a jacket that can be lashed onto a belt and a leather neck collar to keep it in place. Now my protagonist has a left arm that functions. Now he can learn how to wield a weapon with 2 hands for the first time. And he goes into the Karate Kid, tournament and shows up in the final round, and it's like, by the way, not only do I have 2 arms now, here's the other sword that I made. I made 2. The rest of y'all, you made 1 sword. Over the last 12 years, I've been making 2 in tandem. The way you should truly, by definition, generate, fabricate, and forge a holy sword. And this one I have crafted as a reverse blade sword. The blunt end is on the opposite end of the curve. This is not a sword meant for cutting. This is a sword meant for breaking. And in the final round, he doesn't go for the technical attacks. He goes for the blows and the strikes that he knows will cause his opponent to have to guard and parry with their blade. But his is not a cutting edge. His is a blunting, breaking, flat, blunt slab of steel. And he crushes and breaks and splinters and shatters his opponent's sword until it is broken completely in half. Then, as his opponent kneels before him on both knees, ready to give up, Melvin walks out of the sumo ring and disqualifies himself. I'm not here to win a trophy. I'm here to prove to you I'm the best. And I proved it. I am satisfied. Take your trophy, you little bitch. And every time you look at it, I hope you remember that I'm better than you. You better challenge me again. If you're the best that our school has to offer, you better fight me again. Because I can't get better unless I fight the best. And you better keep coming at me. That is the end of the first third of the first act. These are the kind of books that I write. The second act, or the second third of the first act. I'm drunk. I'm sorry. I smoked a lot of weed before this. Is another continuous commentary about what it's like to be famous in Japan. Because the girl who created Melvin's prosthetic arm jacket, she is hidden amongst society. She is the famous idol singer who sprung up at 12 years old, Usagi-chan. Everyone loves her. Everyone buys her CDs and her albums. No one knows that the rainbow-haired bunny girl who sings the songs that promote the culture of Japan is actually that dark-haired bookworm with glasses at school. No one knows her true identity except for Melvin. He's the only one who knows, and he never says anything. He's just happy that every day he gets to go to school, a place that he hates. But it's all tolerable, as long as he gets to see her face every day. And then when a paparazzi catches a photograph of her a little too close to another male celebrity in a club that she is forced by contract to attend, the headlines start to ring that she has a boyfriend, and her fame as an idol sinks. Her celebrity contract is bought out by a Yakuza family, because that happens. Excuse me. That happens in real life in Japan. When an idol's contract is no longer good because she has been seen in the most minuscule of ways, holding hands, being within 12 inches of another male. The paparazzi magazines love to report on it and destroy the livelihood of young women. You know what tends to happen to women like that? Yakuza buys their contract, and now they have to do porn for the Yakuza. Their lives are legally signed away to the Yakuza so that they can be recorded being fucked and sold for money. Hope you understand what I just said. Because now, my protagonist has to face the reality on that day when he watches her in her Maiko outfit being escorted by an armed retinue of guards into a Yakuza family's palace, where he will never see her again and has to know what awaits her. And then he says, no. He goes to an online forum that he frequents, and he tells everyone, if you want to free Usagi-chan, meet in front of the Shinkanryu family manor. Be in front of their gate at 6 p.m. tonight, and we will free her. And the admin, the leader of the Usagi-chan official forums, is Akechi, the rival who was destroyed at the end of that swordsmanship tournament. And he gathers and forces every one of the fans to show up in bright pink and white kimonos and battle uniforms, wielding swords, as Melvin kicks down the doors with the furious legs of his six-legged hexaquine in full jet-powered mount armor. And they break in through the Yakuza headquarters, and they bulldoze through it, knocking over shrines, destroying little huts, and breaking off the corners of living residences in their furious assault. They barge all the way into the innermost sanctum of the head of this family. And Melvin jumps off of his horse, unsheathing his sword mid-air, pressing the sharpened edge of one of his blades against the Yakuza godfather's throats. Where is she? And then, in the fervor, the clamor, as they all make their way through the moonlight-soaked, candleless sanctum in the back of the forlorn halls, they come into the room where Usagi-chan, the princess, is finally to be saved from the claws of the dragon. And her body hangs from the neck in a noose upon the rafters, still faintly dangling as a pendulum. They take her down, pushing the chair that is nearby where she dangles, to untie her neck and bring her to the ground. But instantly, there is no hope. There is no breath. There is no heartbeat. And then, it is no longer about saving her. It is about destroying. It is about killing. It is about wrecking and breaking. It is about leveling everything to the ground and seeing it rise, enjoying the ecstasy of watching the fire engulf everything that should no longer be, that does not deserve to stand upon the face of this earth. I will see to it. Your blood will be the fuel. It will oxidize into a black ooze. Across the bricks, it will be the remnants of what you once were. You will no longer be. You do not deserve to exist. And that concludes the second third of the first act. My protagonist loses a part of his humanity that he can never gain back. The part where you struggle with regret of what you've done and fight against the idiosyncrasy inside that continuously asks, why would you feel bad for doing what's right? The last third of the first act is the planet getting ripped in half by the claws and the talons of a neutron star and black hole fueled god of dark and light, and then, the world ship High School goes out into space and all that. And that's the end of the first act, and there's 3 acts, but I just really wanted to explain that right now. I wanted to vocalize that. Thanks for listening. Appreciate your time. God bless. Later.